Welcome to MJ Hobby Corner, everyone. Today we are playing Broken Legions. And this is a game from Osprey Games. Okay, Mark Latham is the author. And I already have a couple of videos on this game, so we're just going to get right to the game, all right? And hopefully you guys will enjoy it. This sounds like a really cool alternate history game. With the setting of the Roman Empire, and you mix in a lot of fantasy and mythological stuff, and you have yourself a pretty cool game. All right, so let's start looking at the board and the enemies and everything else, and let's get this game going. Okay, so this is my board. All right, and just give you a little peek around, and there we go. All right, so we have some ruins on this side. We have some large stones and boulders forming the base of these hills here. Okay, and then in the center we have my Roman camp with the command tent, and then several other smaller tents. And there's a little animal there on the spit, which was gonna be the breakfast or whatever. Okay, but my soldiers have been interrupted quite abruptly by the presence of two minotaurs, one here, one minotaur way over there. Okay, and then we also have a rock, a giant rock that has come to investigate all the sounds. All right, so he's gonna probably be attacking as well. Well, who knows, maybe it's the roasting beast there that has attracted the rock. Either way, we have three monsters on the board, and you'll see why only three. Those minotaurs really do kick ass. So they're very strong creatures. So I'm putting two on the table and see how it goes. All right, let's introduce the forces, and then we'll mention the scenario, and then we'll get on to playing the game. So first things first is my Centurion Crassius and his two warhounds, Jupiter and Mars. And he is my leader. So he comprises my little command group here. Okay, so the next part of my warband for the Legionnaires. And for the first Legionary crew, we have my standard bearer. We have a Legionary with a pilum. He also is carrying a gladius, so he will be able to fight in hand-to-hand. And we have another legionary with the gladius. Okay, gladius and shield. Now, they all have tower shields. They all have heavy armor, so they get a +2 for defending. And also, they have the shield drill special ability, all legionaries do, and that allows them to use their tower shields without any penalties. So that's very important. All right, so that's my first legionary crew, and now we're going to go to the final two figures. We have a legionary with a short bow. He is known as a Sagittarius. That is his, so that is that. And then I have a Auxilia, and she is an Amazon. She has a short bow as well. Okay, and I chose her because she has really good accuracy, among other things. So yep, that's it. So one of my models is an Auxilia that I hired, and the other one is a short bow legionary to give me some ranged ability. All right, the enemy's side, I have two hulking minotaurs. Those will be my opponents, and we have one minotaur with a spear. So he has the support special rule. The other minotaur, I just gave him the hand weapon, the broad category for a hand weapon, which gives you a +1 for attack and +1 for damage. All right, so minotaurs are very strong, but I could, if I wanted to, have given the minotaurs, one of them a battle axe, which would have been, a lot stronger, and the other one the spear, but I just did hand weapon to make it easier. Okay, so those are my two primary enemies. Next is a giant rock. And this is, of course, a big predatory bird. And all I did for him is I just used a harpy template and upgraded it a little bit. And there we go. Now, actually, this is a very young rock because rocks are much bigger. And for my scenario, I am playing a slightly tweaked version of the Darkest Before Dawn scenario. This is scenario 5 in the book, page 58. Basically, there is a rough campsite in the center of the board, roughly 12 inches in diameter. I didn't exactly make it 12 inches in diameter, but the campground is there, and it's the Roman campground. Okay, and all right. The defender begins by deploying his entire warband within the campsite. And so, of course, all my Romans are there. Deploys one half within 6 inches of a corner of choice. That's this guy down here. Okay, one of these guys. And then the other guy is all the way in the back. You can see him there. And he's deployed in that corner. And then we have the rock, which actually I just deployed him right up on the ruins there, right by the statue. So that's where the rock has deployed. So I'm getting attacked by 3 different angles. From the start of the second turn on, I roll a d10 on a score of 7+. The sun rises and the darkness rules cease to apply. Okay, so there is darkness here in this scenario. The game starts just before dawn and uses all the same rules for darkness scenario 2, Layer of the Beast. Okay, so basically with the darkness rules, I have to roll for line of sight and basically to move around any long distances, I will be rolling. So it's a bit of a pain in the butt, but because it's dark, I don't have any torches. I should have equipped them with torches, but that will, I roll a 2d10, and the total is the number of inches a model can see this time, but it must roll again the next time it tries to see anything. So basically, that's all I'm doing, and the dice will determine how far I can see. So it's really not that bad. All right, and playing this solo, I am using the basic monster AI in the game. Remember, monsters are generally not enemies like this. Generally, I would be facing off against another warband, and the monsters are actually extras. They attack us both, right? But in this game, I decided I would make the monsters the enemies. So, all right, let's start with this Minotaur. And first things first, okay, he has dark sight, so he's not affected by the darkness rules. And neither is the rock. All right, well, that's great. Okay. Turn 1, activation phase. All right, so this Minotaur is first going to move 6 inches. That's a standard move. It's going to move him about there. Okay. And he sees over here. So now, if he wants to charge, he can't do it now because he just moved. That was a standard move. So what he can do, however, is try to run. So run to get him a little closer to the enemy, and he has to stay within an inch away from any enemy because he hasn't charged. So, okay, let's see. So he's going to dice, and that is D5. So it's a D5, so meaning I have to half the die roll. So I rolled a 7 and round up. Okay, so that's going to be a 4. And 4 plus his agility, which is 3. So 4, 7, so he can advance 7 inches. And I didn't do any conversions. I am playing in 1/72 scale, but I did not do any weird conversions or anything. I'm just going to play in inches. All right, so roughly to here because he can't get too close. Okay, and that's it. Let me just make sure that he's okay. Push him back a little bit so he's an inch away from everybody. And that's it. That is his activation. All right, we're going to move the next Minotaur and then move on to my activation phase. Oh, sorry, no, this is an alternate activation game. So basically he moved, so now I get to move a figure. All right, so seeing the situation here, my war dogs are facing him. So see, if I move my Centurion, it's going to break that shield wall, because you need a minimum of 3 models for a shield wall. So what I think I'm going to do is engage, my standard bearer. Okay, so on my turn, by the way, I call them Sagittarius. Sagittarius definitely have a longbow equipped with them. He has a short bow. So what I think I did was I took a legionary and I gave him a short bow. All right, so he has a short bow and a gladius. So make sure I clarify that. So, okay, so my my bowman, my archer, legionary archer, sees the danger, and we're going to he decides to knock an arrow and shoot the Minotaur that's coming towards the group. So basically, I don't want him to move, so we're going to skip the standard move, and there's no reason to charge right now. So I'm going to skip the standard move, the charges and all that, and go to my secondary moves, and ranged attack is what I'm going to choose. So for ranged attack, I have 1 dice. And ranged attack is always a test at first. So that means I have a target number 10. And I add my accuracy to that number. Okay. Plus any weapon bonuses. Plus 2 damage for the short bow. I don't think it gives you anything else though. So we're doing accuracy, which is for the legionary is a 3. And add that to a D10 roll, okay? And this is a full D10, not a D5. All right. So he rolls a 5. So that is an 8. Now the Minotaur, yes, so that does not hit because it is not a 10. So he basically misses. So that sucks. All right. All right. So my guy activated, and I'm just going to activate them so that I remember that they activated. All right, so now we're going to go to the Minotaurs. Now the second Minotaur during the activation phase. So turn 1 activation phase still. Now this Minotaur, let's see, how many CFVs within charge range? He's about 8 inches away from that shield wall, okay? And he does have line of sight to my Centurion there, so he could potentially charge. Now, the only problem is that if he does a charge action, all right, which is a standard move, you would do it instead of moving, and the charge action will allow you to attack at the end of that move. But the most he can get is 7 inches because it's the group. He does 6 inches, and that puts him right there, just a couple of inches away, and that's where he stops. And I have my guy here with the Pilum directly in front of the Minotaur. Now that's a ranged attack, so the Minotaur's fearsome ability would not kick in yet. So now the Legionary rolls 2 dice. He rolls a critical dice, which is going to be the purple dice, and then his regular red dice. And for his red dice, he adds his strength, which, because this is a thrown weapon, unfortunately, the strength for a Legionary is +0, so nothing there. But there is his accuracy, so he can add a 3 to that roll, and then we'll see if the critical rolls anything. Remember, the critical has to roll a 10 in order for it to be a critical. So he rolls a 3 on the critical dice, so let's just ignore that because it doesn't do anything. And then he rolls a 2 plus 3 accuracy, which is 5, nowhere near 10. So his Pilum actually missed. All right, so now that his Pilum is done with, now he becomes a regular swordsman with a gladius, and he can complete his charge, and now he is engaged in melee. The Rock sees an opportunity to do something here, and eager to get into the fray, maybe get a meal, he's going to dice to charge. Okay, he can't do a normal move because although he has a 12-inch move, the normal move is not going to give him an attack. It's just going to be a normal move. We don't want that. So he wants to charge. Now, because he's a flying creature, I'm going to allow him to dice the charge as if he were a cavalry unit. So instead of a D5, he's going to use a full D10 and add his agility, which in his case, let's see, his agility is a 5. So he has a lot of chance of doing this. I believe he is within 12 inches of the closest model. Yeah, 10 inches. So really, if he rolls a 10, a little over 10 inches, if he rolls a 10 and the closest model is going to be this, my archer, if he rolls a 10, he's got it, you know. So a D10 plus 5. And he rolls a 10. Look at that. Oh, he rolls a 10. So he doesn't even have to add that plus 5. All right, so he makes it right through. He charges and attacks my archer. Not good. Okay, so now they are engaged. And remember, we don't do melee until the melee phase. So that's that. So now we go to the Legionnaire's turn. And here my Centurion is assessing the situation. Crassius is like looking at the young fella who just charged a Minotaur, and he's like, damn it, you know, I'm going to have to whip this guy when all this is done. But basically, I mean, you know, the guy charged, broke formation. They're no longer in shield wall. But he's doing what he's doing. So I'm thinking about a heroic action. And he sees the rock over here attacking the archer. And so the Centurion, I'm going to skip my move. I'm not going to do a normal move. I'm not going to do a charge. I'm going to do a heroic action and yell out, bring him down. When you do a heroic action, bring him down, the closest model with a ranged attack to you, which is here, this girl, my Auxilia, she gets a +1 to her attack the next turn. All right, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play a heroic action and call it done. I don't want to charge that Minotaur yet. Not yet, you know. Not yet. I will have to, but not yet. And I still have my war dogs. They can kind of handle the Minotaur. All right, so moving on then with the activation phase, there are no more monsters. So now it is only my legionaries that get to act, and I'm going to skip that. We're going to summarize it at the end. I'm going to play it out and then summarize it for you at the end so this video doesn't get too long. So, finishing the activation phase. All right, so the activation phase for turn 1 is over. Okay, and now we're going to go in the melee phase. But first things first, my archer who was here, she took a couple of steps back, normal movement. She then fired with her secondary action, fired her bow. She scored a 5 on the D10. And then plus her accuracy of 4 is 9. Plus 1 because the creature's a large creature is 10. So she hit. However, she failed her damage roll, so she did not get to damage the rock. By the way, I did not add the +1 large bonus to the Minotaurs as well, because they are large creatures. So I goofed there, and I do apologize. That's why I have Lady Llama to show up and correct my shit. All right, so yeah, so Minotaurs do give a +1 bonus as well, because they're large creatures. So the Warhounds both charged into this Minotaur. My Centurion stayed there. My standard bearer moved from there to there. He just kind of moved around a little bit. Shifted that standard special ability. It's like a 6-inch range. And it allows you to reroll presence test. So he still tries to keep within 6 inches of everybody, which he is. And then my other legionary with the Gladius, who was here, decided he would charge. He got a whopping 8 for the charge bonus and for the charge roll, and that was it. He was able to charge that Minotaur. He had more than enough inches. So those are the combats for this turn. It's going to be here, here, and here. All right, so those are the only melee combats. And now this archer is going to become a Gladius man. He's going to pull out his Gladius and that's it. All right, so all right, well, let's take care of all this combat. Melee phase, turn 1. All right, so first combat of the game, and it's the Minotaur versus my Warhounds. My Warhounds, Mars and Jupiter, have charged. Here they are, Mars and Jupiter. So first thing we do, they get the attack because they charged. So they get melee of 4. They also get +1 for the charge, +1 for having a deadly natural weapon. So that is dice +6. And this is a contest. So the next thing we need is the critical die. Now, so the War Dogs are rolling 2 dice. And the Minotaur is going to counter that with 1 die. Okay. So, because he is the defending model. So dice +6 for the War Dogs. For the Minotaur, it's dice plus melee of 4. He also has a hand weapon +1, so that is dice +5 for the Minotaur. So the Minotaur must beat the Warhound's dice. Now the orange dice is going to be the critical, the green's going to be the Warhound, and purple the Minotaur. All right. Okay, and the critical dice rolled a 9, so unfortunately that is not a 10. So no crit there. But the War Dog rolls a 5 +6 is 11. And the Minotaur rolled a 9 +5 is 14. So the Minotaur wins the fight and nothing happens. Okay, so that's the end of that. And now Jupiter gets to go. And Jupiter, same exact thing. So we're going to do the same exact thing. All right, so 10. 10. Jupiter scores a 10. So that is 1 immediate damage point for the Minotaur. It cannot defend that. Okay. And then the Minotaur rolls a 1. 1 +5 is 6. No go there. And then Warhound rolls a 3. +6 is 9. And so the Warhound wins the fight. And now we have to see if Warhound actually damages. So for the damage roll, Minotaur uses its armor. So that is armor +2. Minotaur also uses its strength. So that's +1, giving it +3. Warhound uses its strength, but it is 0, so no go there. And natural weapon gives it a +1 to damage. So that is +1 for the War Dog, +3 for the Minotaur. Okay, because he's using his armor and strength to defend. All right. So, War Dog rolls a 9, +1 is 10. Minotaur rolls a 6, +3 is 9. So yes, he takes another point of damage, taking him down to 4 points. So good job, Jupiter. But now it is the Minotaur's chance to attack back. And this is where it's going to hurt. Because the Minotaur uses 3 dice. And then uses the highest total to determine the hit. So he's only using 1 die to determine the hit. But when damaging, he's going to use all 3 dice again, okay, to determine which hit's damaged. So even though he's only using 1 die to determine whether he wins the fight or not, he's going to use all 3 dice anyway to determine damage. So that makes monsters with multiple attacks. It makes them very strong. So Minotaur rolls 3 dice, and he's going to add to it his melee of 4. He's also going to add his hand weapon of +1, so that's 5. And that is it for this first section. He did not charge, so he does not get any other benefits. Okay, so he should have been, this would have been during the defense. The Minotaur would have had a -1 for every attacker after the first. Okay, so that would have been while he was defending. So that's something to keep in mind. So I didn't use that earlier. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. So, okay, so he does get a dice +5. So he rolls a 10, +5 is 15, and that's all he needs. So he's going to take the 10, the 15, and the War Dog now has to defend that number. War Dog also has a melee of 4. He has no armor. So, well, he doesn't use armor anyway. He uses his deadly natural weapon, which gives him a +1 to attack. So that is a 5. Dice +5 for the War Dog. 5, 8. He does not win it, so the Minotaur strikes. Jupiter over there, Mars over there. Here's Mars. Now we take the 3 damage dice and we see how many dice damage. So, and this is a contest. So now the Minotaur uses his strength of +1. He also uses the +1 for his weapon. So that's +2. Okay. And we'll see if he gets to damage. Now this time we'll see how many dice hit. Dice +2. So 6, 7, 8, 10, and 6. All right. So let's see. War Dog. I'm going to try to roll all 3 at the same time. So War Dog uses his armor of 0. He does have deadly natural weapons, so that gives him a +1. And basically that is it. So 8 + 1 right here. But the Minotaur had beats him with a +2. Then this one, +1 is 4. But again, the Minotaur had a +2. So that beats that. That's 2 points of damage. And then the 7 +1 is 8. The 6 + 2 is 8. So that is it. So this damage is rejected because the dog managed to roll an even number. A War Dog only has 1 hit point, and that means that poor little Mars is out of the picture. All right. Now we're going to the second War Dog. So he attacks the second, same exact thing. All right, so 6 + 2 is 8. 7, 7. All right, a 4 + 1 is a 5. So here we go. Oh, sorry, that was 5 + 2. So no go there. So that's 1 damage. He rolls a 5 + 1 is a 6. No go there. That's damaged. And he has to beat that 8 now. He only has a +1. So he rolls a 6 + 1 is 7. That is no go. So the Minotaur does 3 points of damage to this poor little warhound. And Jupiter disappears with a yelp. All right. Well, at least the Minotaur is a bit wounded. And that concludes that combat. Now we have to go to our Legionnaires. All right, let's see what happens. All right, so I lost my 2 War Dogs. No problem. I will get revenge on that Minotaur. But right now we're taking care of the Rock. Now the Rock has did charge in the previous turn. So dice +4 for the Rock. He is attacking. And +1 for the charge. So that is dice +5. He rolls a 7, 12. So I have to beat a 12. Now my Legionary has melee of 4. His Gladius grants him a +2 attack thanks to finesse. So that is dice +6. And my Legionnaire rolls a 10. So 10 + 6. 16. My Legionnaire beats it, and that is that. Now I get to counterattack. So we're going to take the charge out, the charge marker. Legionnaire has melee of 4, and again the Gladius +2 for the attack, so that is dice +6. 6 and 5 is 11, so now the rock has to beat an 11. He has melee 3, plus his natural weapon, which he can add to the attack roll, and that's dice +4, same exact thing, but no charge bonus. So 9 + 4 is 13 versus an 11. So yeah, he blocks, and I don't do anything to the rock. All right, so the third and final combat. Let's see, things are going to be a little different here. First of all, my Legionnaire's charged last activation, so just want to keep that there. Okay, so they get priority, and they pick up 1 die. They have a melee of 4. Their Gladius grants them a +2, so that is 6. And +1 for the charge is 7. Okay, so first Legionary, 7 + 3, that is a 10. And I'm just going to roll in the background to speed this up. So 10, Minotaur has to beat a 10, and Minotaur is rolling melee of 4, but he does have a spear, which is +2 finesse bonus. So that is a 6 as well. So dice +6 for the Minotaur. They're pretty even. He rolls a 1. So no go. Now my Legionnaire has to roll for damage. And for damage, we add the strength of the model. There is no strength for the Legionary, so no. But the Gladius does have a +1 damage bonus. So that is dice +1 for the Legionary. He rolls a 2, which makes it a 3, and the Minotaur should beat that easily. Minotaur's armor bonus of 2. However, because there is another figure there, he's outnumbered by 1, he gets -1, which gives him a +1. Minotaur rolls a 4, +1 is 5, and yes, he beats it. That's all he needs. So no damage from the first Legionary attack. That's not good. We now roll for damage. Same thing, Legionary gets a +1. No strength bonus. And that is it. Legionary rolls a 5, so 6. Minotaur should be able to beat that. Minotaur has armor 2, again, +1, because he gets -1. Minotaur rolls a 6, that is a 7, and that is enough to beat the roll of the second Legionary, and that is it. So that combat is at a standstill. Now the Minotaur gets to strike back. So to beat the Minotaur's 9, my melee is 4, and +2 for the Gladius, that is dice +6. 7 and 6. All right, 13, and yes, that beats the Minotaur's 9, so that's where that stays. The Minotaur is not able to wound any of the Legionnaires, so they're just trading blows at this point. And that ends the melee phase for turn 1, folks. And now we're going to go on to turn 2, and I'm probably just going to play another turn and then end it here, as I have a lot of other things to do today. But we want to see where we go. We want to see if at least somebody dies, right? So we'll see. We'll keep playing and see where we go. Okay, so I went ahead a little bit and did the activation phase for the Minotaur. The only Minotaur that activated was this big one, the one that's wounded, and he diced for a charge and charged my standard bearer. Okay, the standard bearer now becomes a swordsman, pulled out his gladius, and is now fighting for his life. So that's going to be the first melee in the combat next phase. And that's it. And then it goes to me because everything else gets taken care of in the melee phase. So the only one that I have, there's two of them that I have that can activate in my activation phase. And that's my girl here, my Auxilia, and my Centurion. So first things first, I have a warband special ability called Drilled. And at the start of each turn, when the leader activates, the warband may choose to fight offensively or defensively. Offensive gives any model with Gladius another cumulative +1 attack. And defensive gives any model with a shield an additional +1 to the defense score. So I'm going to fight offensively, I think, and that lasts for the entire turn. Okay, so everybody gets a +1, everyone with a gladius. In addition to that, my leader, okay, I'm just going to put these little +1 markers there. My leader gets to activate first. And that was something we did wrong in the turn 1, is that the leader always activates first when it's the player's turn, okay? And the reason is because of the way the abilities work. So leader is going to get to activate first. He's the only one really to activate, and then my lady over there. Okay, so now it is the melee phase in turn 2, and the first combat we're going to do is this one. So I'm just going to dice. First let me just check something. The Minotaur's agility is a 3. Centurion's agility is a 3, go figure. And they both charge. So let's dice it. Even, the Centurion, Crassius, gets to attack first. Odd, the Minotaur. And it is important because the defender could be wiped out. You know, I doubt I'll wipe out the Minotaur, but... All right, so 7, it is an odd number, so it's the Minotaur that's going to strike his charge first, and he's going to strike the Bannerman. So the Bannerman is now a swordsman. He has no shield, so it's just the gladius. So basically the Minotaur does 3 attacks. So the Minotaur rolls his 3 dice, dice +6. He rolls a 10. That is a 16. God damn. All right. So he rolls a 16 against the Bannerman. Let's roll that critical dice and see if there's any critical. No critical. So 2. He rolls a 1. Let's re-roll that because we didn't know what that was. All right, a 3 and a 6. All right. That 6 has the potential to do some damage. So I rolled a 6 +3. So yes, I blocked that. That is a 9. Okay. And now for the 3, so this goes away. So for the 3, oh, a 1. A 1 + 3 is 4. Let's see, 3 + 2 is 5. Yeah, so I got 1 damage there, and then a 1. So as long as, let's see, that's +2, so that's 3. So, oh, dice fell. So I rolled an 8, so that's good. This is done. So I get 1 damage. 1 damage to me. All right, and the Rock is attacking the guy over here. Let's see who has the most agility. Rock has agility 5, and the Legionary's agility 3, so the Rock is going to go first. And the Rock takes 1 die. And melee of 3 and +1 for his natural weapons, so that is melee of 4, so dice +4. He rolls a 5, which is a 9, okay, and my guy has a +1, I can't forget that. So a 9, I have to beat a 9, so for me it's 4 gladius, 5, 6, and 7 because of offensive bonus for attack, so that's dice +7 for me. I gotta beat a 9. And I rolled a 4, 7, and 4 is an 11. So yes, I beat it. No damage, and I get to retaliate now. And now remember, that's my archer. He has the gladius now, but yeah, that was my archer. All right, do I damage him? So my weapon is only a +1. What about my strength is +0? So nothing there. So dice +1. Come on. I rolled a 5. That's a 6. Ugh, not very impressive. So 6. And the armor of 1 for the rock. He rolled a 4, 5. No, he does not pass. So guess what? Yes, he takes 1 point of damage. And the rock has 3 hit points, so he has 2 left. So at least I'm damaging some people here. All right. So now everybody's engaged, okay? Except we have one person here who's not engaged. That's one of mine. So the Minotaur, the monsters do not act in the activation phase. I go straight to my activation phase. But of course, the leader always activates first, and he's engaged. So what I could do here is, because it's not the melee phase, is see if I can do a heroic action. So I'm going to check that and see if you can do that while engaged. And if not, well, then she has to act on her own. So we're going to just activate her. She does get an activation. And she's the only one that activates in this phase. So again, she's going to forego movement. And she's going to attack the rock. So that's 4. +1 for the size of the creature, so that's 5, so dice +5. She rolls an 8, and a 5 is a 13. So yes, she passes the test. She does hit the rock, and now the rock she has to roll a damage roll. Weapon damage is +2, so dice +2. She rolls a 10, a 12. Okay. He rolls a 3, +1 is 4. No way, so the rock takes 1 more damage, and that is the end of the rock. So at least she took out 1 monster. That's not bad. All right, so now I have Legionnaire free. Now he can go back and get his bow again. So he is no longer with the Gladius, and now he is a ranged unit. Okay. I could change that and probably, you know what? I might change that, because now he gets an activation, and he can just charge into combat instead of shooting into combat. So why don't we do that? We're going to see if he can successfully charge the Minotaur and support the Centurion. A presence of 4. He rolls a 10, +4 is 14, so absolutely he does pass that test without the bonuses, so he can charge and have no defensive penalties. We're going to turn him into a swordsman, and he charges the Minotaur. Now, also, I want to say that I'm taking the offensive bonus this turn due to drilled. And I think offensive or defensive? I think I'm going to stick with offensive, and that'll give the +1 bonus for everybody. All right. So the battle is raging. Last turn. Can I take out a Minotaur and tie this game, or will my Legionnaires succumb to the Minotaur? All right, let's do this combat first. And now he charged successfully. And we have the offensive special ability for the warband triggered. My leader's still alive, so I can still use that. And all right, so let's get this Minotaur dispatched, hopefully. Not give him a chance to attack, because these Minotaurs are really strong. So we're going to turn him around to face me. And now I have priority. I also have, let's see, our agilities are the same, but I have priority this time, and he charged. So my Legionary is going to go first. So Legionary has, let's see, 4 plus weapon finesse, which the Gladius gives him a 2, so that's 6, and plus 1 for offensive, so that is 7, dice plus 7, and I roll a 7, so that is a 14. Minotaur has to beat a 14, and he has 4, 5. So dice plus 5 for the Minotaur. And he is outnumbered. Oh, well, that happens during damage, so forget that. So, dice plus 5 for the Minotaur. And he rolls a 6. 6 plus 5 is 11. So no go. So I could potentially damage him. So Legionnaire now rolls plus 0 for... He gets no strength bonus. And his Gladius gives him a plus 1. Plus 1. And unfortunately, I don't get any other plus for that. Okay. So plus 1. And I rolled an 8. So that is 9. Okay. And Minotaur has to beat a 9. His armor is 2. But he is at a disadvantage. So that's minus 1. So he only gets dice plus 1, and he has to beat a 9. And he rolls a 4. So that is a 5. No go. So he takes another point of damage. And that reduces the Minotaur to 2. Oh, very good. All right. So now we're going to do my Centurion next. And Centurion gets plus 7, dice plus 7. So, and then we're going to roll the critical dice as well. So, let's see. The critical dice rolls a 10. Okay, so critical dice rolls a 10. That is a 1 point off for the Minotaur. Unfortunately, I rolled a 2 for my other roll. So that is only 7, 8, 9. So that is a 9. So who knows? Maybe it could be another point and destroy the Minotaur. Let's see. So Minotaur has to beat a 9, and he has 4 dice plus 5. Minotaur rolls a 6, which is an 11. He does beat it. So unfortunately, no go. All right, now the Minotaur's chance. He only has 1 point. Oh, I could have tied this game, but because of that failure, because he blocked this damage roll, I couldn't damage him. So that really sucks. He's down to 1. All right, so now let's see what the Minotaur does, and let's see. Okay. So basically, 3 dice for the Minotaur, and for him it's going to be dice plus 5. He rolls a 9, which is his highest number, so that is a 14, and he's attacking my Legionary. So 14... I have to beat a 14. I'm just thinking here. So, okay, so my Legionary has 4, 5, 6 for the Gladius, plus 1 for the offensive. So that is dice plus 7 during the attack roll. And he rolls a 10, plus 7, 17, so he beats it. So yes, the Minotaur does not hit. Okay. But I have priority, so we'll give the Legionary the turn. That Minotaur has no damage, so I don't really see me doing much. Alright, so again, dice plus 7 for the Legionary. And I'm rolling my critical as well, and no critical. and he rolls a 2. So that's a 9. Minotaur defends. Let's see if he does it. It's dice plus 5 for the Minotaur. 7 plus 5. Yes, he defends it. So nothing happens there. And my Legionary is going to attack him as well. Whoops. And then it's the Minotaur's turn to attack. And that could hurt. So Legionary attacks, dice plus 7. 6 and 7 is 13. So that's a good roll. And the Minotaur now defends, dice plus 5. He rolls a 10. 15. He defends. So crap. All right. Well, now let's do the 3 dice of the Minotaur. And he is rolling dice plus 5. He has a spear, so let's see. 4 for the melee, 2 for the spear. That's 6. And yeah, he's attacking now. So now he's doing a little bit more. Okay, so it's dice plus 6 now. He rolls a 3 as his highest, so that is a 9. Come on, we have to beat that. So dice plus 7 for me. I got to beat a 9, and I roll a 10. All right, beautiful. So that is blocked. Okay, let's see if the critical dice does anything. The critical dice did a 7, so no go. So now Minotaur turns around, and this is the final roll I'm going to make. So, again, 3 dice. I'm lucky because this guy's wounded. So he could have been taken out with just 1 more blow. So, this time the Minotaur rolls a 10. Okay, so rolling a 10, yikes. 10 plus 6 is 16. My Legionary has to block a 16. I don't know if I can do that. 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I need to roll a 10. 6, 7. So dice plus 7. So I can get away with a 9, rolling a 9. And I rolled a 1. Nope. Alright, so damage roll. Minotaur does 3 dice, and this could be the end of that Legionnaire. And I think this guy's my standard bearer. He's just fighting with the Gladius. So, yeah, he's not a standard bearer anymore. Alright, so damages, let's see. Oh man, he rolled an 8, a 5, and a 6. Holy shit. Alright, so my Legionnaire going 1 by 1 for the 8. My armor's 3, so dice plus 3. I rolled a 6. That beats the 8. Okay, so no problem there. Let's see the 5 now. I rolled a 2. That does not, so I take 1 point of damage. And now the final damage roll, which was a 6, and that is 7, 8. Right? Yeah, plus 1 damage. So that is really an 8. Let's see if I can beat an 8. Dice plus 3. I rolled a 5. Yes, so I took 1 damage out of that roll. And let me take the presence test. See if he runs away. Presence 4. He rolls an 8, and a 4 is a 12. So no, he stays locked in combat, does not run away. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to end the game right here in turn 4. I lost. I killed 1 monster, lost 1 Legionnaire, and 2 War Dogs. All right. All right, so Broken Legions, ladies and gentlemen. A good game. It was fun. It's a lot of fun. Now, I'm still learning the game, so a little bit shaky. I forgot some of the modifiers here and there. One thing I will say about the game is that it has a lot of modifiers. So when you're first learning the game, I will recommend play with small war bands, get to know the modifiers, get to know when they're used. The system itself is very easy. It's the modifiers that add more complexity to the game because there's a lot of them. But one of the interesting things is that there is strategy in positioning yourself and getting your models into situations where you can get more modifiers, and this way get greater chances of doing what you need to do. So it is an interesting system, very interesting setting. So that's going to be my recommendation. Definitely take your time with the game, learn the modifiers. Now I have to teach this to Julie. And remember, I played this game a little different. I used the monsters as primary enemies. The way this game plays is that you want to have two war bands, and then the monsters are just the third wheel. They're going to be attacking both parties. All right? Now, you could play against monsters if you want, like I did. Not a problem. Just remember that monsters are really tough. And I think they're designed that way because when you have a two-player situation, the monsters are going to be harassing both players, and both players are going to be hitting, the monsters. So, plus they probably will appear in lower numbers depending on the scenario. We didn't use miracles. Miracles is something that I will use in the next game, and those are basically spells and spellcasters. So your leaders do give benefit to your miracle workers. So that's good to keep in mind. So that's going to be very interesting. We're still exploring this game, and I do want to do more stuff with it in the future. This is a training game. It's still valid, but it is a training game. So not the best game to kind of get a real sense of the game. Hopefully, as we play more games, then things will definitely start to come into place more. Okay, so thank you, folks, and remember, you can join our Patreon. Check out our Patreon if you want to support our work. And now I'm gonna get ready for another game, a 2-player FTL. So this was Broken Legions, ladies and gentlemen, and we will be doing more with this game in the future. New warbands coming up. All right, folks, have a great one. We'll talk very soon.